Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm excited to introduce you to Embody, which is a powerful tool that automates the externalization of components and scripts inside of TouchDesigner. If you've ever faced challenges managing complex projects or collaborating with other developers in Touch, Embody is here to help streamline your workflow. Now, by default, TouchDesigner stores your entire project in a TOE file, touch environment binary. While this does keep your project contained, it presents significant limitations when collaborating. Merging changes is tricky, and version control becomes really cumbersome with this approach. So what we do as developers is we often resort to manually externalizing components by saving them as tox files or by exporting scripts as Python, GLSL, JSON, etc. However, this is a manual process. It's very repetitive and it's difficult to manage, especially as your project grows in size and complexity. So enter Embody. Embody automates the externalization process for your projects. You can easily tag components and scripts for externalization, and it will handle saving and updating them for you. So it keeps your project organized and ensures your external files are always up to date. So let's get started. If you head over to the Embody GitHub page, which I'm on now at github.com/DylanRosscover/Embody, you'll find all of the project files and the latest release. So if you go to the release folder, there will be toxes in here and you want to grab the latest one. So you can just download this directly, clone the repo as you prefer. And what I'm going to do is fire up a new TouchDesigner project, right? So we're just here in default world and I've downloaded the Embody Git repo and I'm just going to drag and drop this tox file into the project. So first, we're presented with the initialization prompt here. So you're prompted to either reinitialize or keep the last saved state. So for new projects like this one, go ahead and hit yes. And it's going to go ahead and initialize Embody here. You can drag Embody anywhere you want to in your project. So you can store it in the root, in project one folder, wherever you want. Just one copy of Embody is all you need inside of your project. So let's start with tagging some operators for externalization. By default, there's just one file externalized, the externalizations table itself, which contains all the info Embody needs to keep track of your project. It's externalized onto the computer, your file system, but it's also outside of the Embody component itself. So if we need to make updates down the road, which I'm sure we will, you can replace the Embody component, but keep all your externalization data outside of Embody, which is helpful there. And this is referenced by the externalizations parameter right here. So let's say that I create a new operator like a base comp, right? Classic. And I want to add this to Embody. So all you need to do is tap left control on your keyboard twice in a row like that and hit the tox tag here in the Embody tagger. And this goes ahead and adds this base component to Embody. It's now depicted here in project one base one. It's type base. It has an external file path, timestamp, and also lets you know whether it's dirty. And you can also delete it from here as well. So this supports most comps, in fact, just about every comp except for engine, time, and annotate. And it also supports almost all DATs. So it'll support DATs such as text, table, and most of the parameter DATs. In fact, I think just about all of them, which is listed on the repo. So same process for this. If you hit left control twice, it brings up the tagger menu. And here you can select which type of file you want to store this as. So it can be a Python, JSON, XML, so on and so forth. So really nice functionality here. So I'm going to go ahead and store this as a Python file. And just like that, it externalizes it and has added it to Embody as text1 here. So that is tagging operators in a nutshell. Now, if we want to update Embody, what we can do, for example, is if I make a change inside of this base comp and create a table, let's say, so I've made a change to it, and we go ahead and select Embody here and hit refresh, you'll see that this has now been marked as dirty, right? It's unsaved because there was a change detected when we refreshed Embody. So to update externalizations, all you have to do is hit Control-Shift-U on your keyboard, and that's going to go ahead and update Embody. It's the same process as clicking Enable Update. There's just a keyboard shortcut for it, which you can find from the keyboard shortcuts page here. So left control to add externalization tag, and Control or Command left Shift U to initialize/update Embody. Same process. Initialization is just when you're doing it for the first time, and update is every time thereafter. So this is all well and good, but let's figure out, where this stuff is being stored. So for starters, there's an additional keyboard shortcut here, Control or Command left Shift E. So if I go ahead and press that, it's going to bring up the Embody UI manager, which is accessible from anywhere inside of your project. So you could be here in the root, nowhere near Embody. And then if we hit Control-Shift-E, you'll see that this appears as so. So there's a bunch of buttons and options here. So if we click on this button here, this actually takes us to our externalization folder inside of Windows Explorer, which actually I already have open, but if I go ahead and click that now and drag this window over, get rid of the Lightroom, and you'll see here that because this is a default new project, which is stored on the desktop by default, it has actually gone ahead and created a folder structure which mirrors the project structure itself. So by default, we start off with this project one structure. So it's storing a project one folder here on the desktop with the externalized files here, this base one talks, the externalizations, table dat, and this text one Python file. Now, if you want to go to these files directly, you can select these. These are buttons here. So I could press this and it's going to pull it up directly selected inside of Windows Explorer or Mac OS Finder. And that works for all of the files. So really helpful there. And then if you want to find where this is inside of your network, you can tap the type column and it's going to pull up that operator inside of a new network editor window. Very useful there as well. So ability to select and go to either that operator or that externalized file there. Very, very useful. So in addition to these basic buttons that we just went through, there's also the parameters button. So you can hit this and this will take you to the Embody component itself. So you can go through your setup. You can also go to the tags page and revise the tags. So Embody works in a tagging system. So when we're adding an operator via the tagger menu, as the name suggests, what this is actually creating is a tag based on the values inside of the tags page. So here for Python tag, it's adding a tag called Py. And you can customize this, set it up to the way you like. Just make sure to do it before you start customizing Embody because it's referencing these. So you'd want to do this at the beginning of your project setup and then leave them alone. And the same rules apply for base, components in general, not just bases, but any component that's supported. It'll add that tox tag here, as you can see. It also colors them based on the tag color. So you can set this to a color of your choosing to help you keep the project organized and quickly identify what has been externalized versus what has not. There's also a filter parameter here. So if I wanted to search for text1, type in text1, hit return, and it will filter everything in Embody like so. You can hit X to clear that filter. Very useful there for finding a particular operator that you're looking for. The table DAT button will open up this externalizations table that we've previously discussed, which includes basically all of the data for your Embody externalizations. The update function and refresh functions, again, just to reiterate, if we make a change to this base one and hit refresh, it runs and checks and sees what has changed. And then if you hit update, it goes ahead and makes that change. Another method you can take, if we make another change here, refresh, is you can actually just hit the save button directly to save just this particular comp. So for example, if I made another base, let's say base 2, added this to Embody, and you can see it goes ahead and automatically saves everything when you make a new one. But if I were to change this, refresh, and let's say I only wanted to save out this base and not another one, I could just hit save on it and only save that particular operator out versus saving them all out. But update will go ahead and save all of them. If we want to disable Embody to reset it, we can do so via the disable button. So if I click on this, it's going to prompt and ask whether we want to keep all of the tags we have assigned or remove all of them. So if you keep all of them, then all those tags will stay in place, and it's just going to clear out the Embody externalizations. Now, if we hit enable again, it will automatically add all of them back, which is really useful. So if we disabled and removed all Embody tags, it's actually going to clear all of them out, except for the externalizations table, of course, because that's sort of assumed that it will be part of your externalizations, right? And then if we hit enable again, it's only going to add back in that particular one. So you'll need to go through and add all of these back in, like so. You can also add multiple bases at a time if you want. So if we go ahead and clear that out, select 2, left control twice, tox tag, it adds them both at once, which is a really nice feature. Same thing works for DATs. Just make sure you're only adding DATs or comps respectively. So that's all well and good. Now, what about advanced features? Well, there are lots of them. So a more recent feature to Embody is the tree lister. So if we add a new base in here, let's say, go ahead and externalize it, you'll see that Embody, rather than displaying it as a full list, will actually now nest operators based on your folder structure, your network folder structure, which is really, really helpful for organizing and for seeing the hierarchy of your project. Now, one other note, if we go to our project folder and check this out, you'll see that if there is a component inside of a component, it creates a folder automatically for that component and places it inside. So again, your project folder structure essentially is mirrored here. Now, by default, Embody sets all of your externalizations to the project root. So in this case, our desktop. If you wanted to remove all of these into a different folder, you can do just that. So if I want to store everything in lib, for example, I could type out lib, hit enter, and it automatically recreates everything inside of the lib folder and gets rid of the old folders that were created. So now all of my externalizations live inside of this lib folder. You could rename it to whatever you want. You could call it externalizations, for example, rename that, and it's now living inside of externalizations. You could also reset it back to your original project folder directory, and there we have it. So we're right back where we started. So really nice and handy there. Now, oftentimes in a project, we will rename files. That's just part of the business. So this text one, let's say I wanted to call it text with a name. Well, you can do just that. And note that nothing happened just yet because Embody isn't that crazy. It's not monitoring every single operation. However, if we hit refresh, you'll see that upon refresh, it actually picks up that change and automatically adjusts that listing with the new comp name, or dat name in this case, but it works just as well for bases. So base name and refresh, and the base name has been renamed. And also note that it keeps track of the comps inside of it. So this one has also been updated with that base name as well. So very organized, easy to add, all sorts of files. If we add this as, well, let's say a dat tag for a table, it will do just that and add a dat. If we were to create another text dat, and for this one, I decided I wanted to have JSON data, I can do just that. And again, it creates the JSON file, and it is indeed a JSON file stored on the, excuse me, the computer file system. Another cool feature in Embody is the ability to handle the migration of operators. So let's say, for example, this text with a name, I actually wanted to relocate it to inside this base2 component. So all I have to do is Control X and Control V, or Command X, Command V, to move that. And then if I refresh Embody, you'll see that that actually went ahead and moved that text with a name into the base2 component. So it handles that very, very nicely. Now, if I just straight up delete this text with a name and refresh Embody, it goes ahead and detects it and removes it and keeps track of the project that way. Very, very useful. Now, oftentimes we'll go, oh shit, I deleted that, and Control Z, and it's added back and it's got an error now because that file was not found for sync. However, if we go ahead and refresh and update Embody, you'll see that it actually restores it, re-adds it, and everything is back and good to go. So Embody is quite comprehensive when it comes to managing all sorts of different file operations within your network, all sorts of operator operations within your network, whether that's deletions, additions, migrations, moving, undo, redo, etc. It handles just about every use case under the sun for TouchDesigner. So lots of features here, lots of work went into this to ensure that it works correctly and as intended. So this was originally developed by Tim Franklin, great dev, and excuse me, I refactored it quite significantly over a number of years with inspiration and guidance from Elbar Sakabi, Matthew Reagan, and Weiland Hilker, sorry for butchering your name, also known aka as Alpha Moonbase. So a big thank you to those contributors in the Touch community at large for making this possible and inspiring this development work all along the way. So lastly, deletions, right? If we want to remove something, you can do that here, and that will clear it from the Embody component, right? And so let's say this text with a name, delete, yes, removes, and it is now gone and restored to its default beautiful state. So that's easy enough to do. You can also do so via the tagger menu. So if I've added this as a Python tag, you can go back to the tagger menu and simply select the tag again and remove it that way. So I think that's about it. In a nutshell, Embody simplifies the management of external components and scripts in Touch, making collaboration and project organization much, much smoother. I hope this tutorial has helped you understand how to integrate Embody into your workflow. And last but not least, file saving. Again, to reiterate here with the, actually two more things, one more thing, two more things, maybe three more things. So if you hit Control-Shift-U, that is the same thing as running an update. So if I go ahead and open up my textboard, you can see here that we get a nice, very descriptive log of everything that Embody is doing, which is very useful for your project. So if I hit Control-Shift-U or Command-Shift-U, that automatically refreshes and updates Embody. So you don't have to Control-S your project every time to make an update. So for example, if I make a change inside of this base one or this base name now, Control-Shift-U, it automatically updates that, saves it, refreshes Embody all in one easy to use shortcut. That's Control or Command, Left Shift, and U. So very, very useful there just to keep your project up to date. without having to save out your toe. Alternatively, you can Control S your toe, and when you do Control S, it will trigger the same functionality in Embody, which is to run an update and a refresh. So, or a refresh and then an update. So that will help. You can also disable keyboard shortcuts if these are getting in the way of your workflow for whatever reason. That's totally fair. So you can do so here. There are also theme color adjustments you can make to change the look and feel of Embody, should you want to. And you can also refer to the About menu to know the version you're on. Go to the GitHub page and open up a helpful little help menu, which explains a lot of what I've just gone over in a little more detail in some areas, such as compatibility of various operators. So there's one more thing that I want to cover. And this is also a fairly recent addition to Embody, which makes the whole process very, very easy, I think. So if you've already created a really large TouchDesigner project, it's probably a bit cumbersome as well to go through and find every single operator you want to add and add it. Not the end of the world. It certainly is faster than filling out all of these fields and sync to file and all of that. But there is a faster way, and that's with the Externalize Full Project button. So if I go ahead and pulse this, it's going to ask me if I want to proceed in adding every compatible comp and DAT within the project to Embody. Now, this will, of course, ignore palette components, clones, replicants, as well as operators in the local folder. So if I hit confirm, it's actually going to go through the project and add everything that is in it. So now inside of project 1, we've got Embody and every single compatible operator inside of Embody fully externalized, as well as all of the operators we just added. So in one click, you can add every single externalizable file to Embody in your project, which is absolutely fantastic. So now if I were to go in here, you can see here too that the top level files will be stored inside of the project directory, but we've also got everything in here for every single part of the project, which is just really, really useful, I think, for a nice automatic way to externalize your whole TouchDesigner project. And of course, you can move your externalizations table somewhere else. Just make sure to reference it here in the externalizations parameter. So I think that about covers it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was an enjoyable video, and I look forward to you all seeing Embody in action. So please have fun, enjoy, and ping me on the GitHub with any issues or comments. Welcome your feedback as always. So power to the users, power to the devs. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.